Welcome, everybody, to In the Flat podcast. I'm your host, Tony Kill, joined this week by Jordan Schultz with Jess David out for assignment, doing some nice reporting for us out there in the world. All right, there's a lot going on. So, over the last couple days, there's probably been like 30 coach changes, 100 people have entered the transfer portal. It's hard to keep up with it all. So, we'll try to give you some of the highlights. We'll preview the games coming up this weekend. We'll talk about the college football rankings. Well, let's start with some of the coaching changes. I think we might have touched on it on Sunday, but Luke Fickell is heading to Wisconsin, leaving Cincinnati. I was surprised by this. He's obviously been courted by many colleges out there. He almost took the job at Michigan State, but changed his mind. I guess he felt like the time was right. I think I read that he has some regrets by not interviewing for the Notre Dame job last year, and he didn't want to wait anymore for these potential opportunities. So he took the Wisconsin job, getting paid pretty well to do it. Seems like the Wisconsin opportunity will be a good one for him. So what do you think of the fit here, Jordan?
I think it's a good fit. I think he wanted that Big Ten. I think they're going to the Big 12s here soon, but the Big Ten's a bigger conference, bigger known conference, and I think he can build something at Wisconsin like he did at Cincinnati. And with the recruiting, that's only, you can recruit out Wisconsin. You got Chicago right there. I mean, you got Minnesota. You got all those states like that, like Wisconsin. What other big school is there besides University of Wisconsin? So I think it's a good choice, big pickup for Wisconsin. I think he can build a pretty good program, there, and definitely. Kind of surprising in sense. I mean, there's, last year we thought he had been gone already. Everything.
I guess it's surprising because they're going to the Big 12, so he's at a big school. But I mean, obviously he's going to pay a lot more to be at Wisconsin than he is at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's always been kind of looked at as that springboard job. Just look at like Brian Kelly and D'Antonio in the past. They kind of used Cincinnati as a way to build their career and then jump to a bigger school. So I'm interested to see what Cincinnati will do. I know there's rumors out there, maybe Deion Sanders, or some other coaches out there. With them going to the Big 12, I think they need to make a splashy hire here, or they have a danger to be kind of left behind. They're already starting to lose recruits left and right, so they got to get this turned around here pretty quick, get a good coach in for sure. All right, let's talk about some other hires. UAB hired former NFL quarterback Brett Dilfer as the head coach. He helps run a lot of the Elite 11 events as well. I think I want to say he does some high school coaching as well. So this is, he has coaching experience. It may not be like top of the line, but this is a good way to kind of think outside the box. You could probably, with his name, attract some different recruits to UAB and get some publicity there at UAB. So, do you think this has the opportunity to be successful there, or do you feel like they need to hire someone with more experience there at UAB?
I think it's it's those small schools, and I think it's a jumping off point for a lot. Just a trampolining to become bigger and better schools. UAB, is the little brother in Alabama. To University of Alabama. So I think it's more of a stepping point for him. He could build something there, and that'd be great. But I think that's what UAB is expecting out of this coach. I think a stepping point for him, and they said, let's just try it and see how it goes. Because really, you have nothing to lose, especially if you're not a huge program like Alabama. All that, Big Ten. You're not in the huge conference, so. What do you have to lose? Bring someone in that's different, someone that doesn't have a lot. And he was a Super Bowl winner when he was in the NFL. So, I mean, he knows how to win, at least at that point. And so I think that was the biggest selling point for it.
Yeah, and I think his high school has like 5 or 6 folks that are committed to pretty big-time schools. So you have to wonder, will any of those players go and play for him?
He coaches at a school in Nashville.
Lipscomb or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
and I guess they competed in their state championship game. So.
Yeah, so it seems like he's successful at the high school level. Obviously, this is a pretty good jump up, but I mean, I think UAB, you want to get someone that could, get you on the radar and start building your program up, and I think this is a good step for them there. All right, Georgia Tech has hired their interim head coach, who I think finished the last part of the season off. Brett Key to the full time head coach starting next year. He went 4-4 as interim head coach this year, beating two ranked teams on the road in Pittsburgh and North Carolina. They played a lot better once he took over. He's already made some changes today. I think he fired offensive coordinator Chip Long and the wide receivers coach and somebody else there. So he's already put his mark on the program, and I think Georgia Tech could have done better though. Just if I'm just being honest, I know he did a pretty good job last year, but Georgia Tech, you're in Atlanta, you're a nice recruiting base. I think like this is where a good Deion Sanders would go. He knows the Atlanta area. Obviously, plays professional sports there. That would have been the splash hire I would have made. What do you think?
I think it would be, right now it's hard to draw those coaches to, anyone into Georgia Tech, just because where Georgia's rolling right now. And I think they probably reached out. I think I did read something that happened a couple days ago about them going after Tulane's coach, and then that not really panning out, I guess. So, I mean, I think it's just hard for Georgia Tech. It could be an easy place to recruit, but right now, the way Georgia, Alabama, all those big schools in that area, Clemson even, that's close enough, are playing and how they recruit and how they get the players. I think it's super hard right now to recruit, especially a Georgia Tech school that's not, has been down and out the last couple of years. So I think it's a good hire right now. It's because, you could, like I said, with UAB, you can play it. You don't have to hire Deion Sanders to a 10-year contract or another big coach to a 10-year contract. You can hire this guy for 2 or 3 and see where it goes. And if he's not where you want it to be, then you do it. You go back out and hire again.
No, for sure. All right, another big hire is Auburn hired former Ole Miss head coach Hugh Freeze. Obviously, he had to resign back in 2017 from Ole Miss due to NCAA investigation with records of his university-owned phone revealed he had repeatedly called a number associated with the escort service. And there were some other issues and complaints from females throughout his tenure. And so, at his news conference, his plea was to give him a chance, give his family a chance, get to know our side of the story. I don't know about this hire. After hiring Harsin, I would have went for a much safer choice if I was Auburn. But what do you think here, Jordan?
I think Auburn just looks at that, how many times they beat Alabama.
Beat Alabama.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think it's a good hire. I think, right now, because there's so many openings, and, everybody's, has all these names out there, but I think it's a good hire. He's won games. He showed, he has won national games. He's won a lot. I think the big thing for, what he did, he kept their, the interim head coach as their running back coach. He's going to keep him on the staff. I think that's huge. I think that's a big step in seeing Frost, see how it goes, see how he does, But with all the other stuff from Harsin and all the stuff he did, now you're going to hire someone that kind of is, kind of has the same aura around him, same news around him. I just thought it was kind of weird.
Yeah, no, I agree. We'll see how it works out. He obviously can coach football. We know that. You just gotta hope this doesn't come back to bite Auburn, because they've made some terrible decisions the last few years there for sure. All right, some smaller updates. Western Michigan fired Tim Lester. There's a lot of prominent Midwest coaches that may be on their radar to hire from, Michigan, Notre Dame, and other areas that might be interested in the first-time head coaching job. So look out for that. UNLV fired Marcus Arroyo. That was a tough program, and he did pretty well with them. I think they should have gave him a couple more years, but they're now on the hunt for a new head coach. And then West Virginia decided to keep Coach Neil Brown for 2020 preseason. There was a lot of rumors that he was going to be fired, but they decided to keep him on, and they just hired a new AD. So my imagine is this going to be like a trial season for Neil Brown. If he doesn't do good, he'll be fired at the end of the next season. So that's just a couple of the coaching ones that I saw. Anything else from the head coaching or coaching changes that you saw, Jordan?
Not really. I like you said, the West Virginia one. I think it's smart right now, especially it being West Virginia, to not fire their head coach. There's so many openings for better positions, better places. I mean, right now Cincinnati's a better place than West Virginia. I feel like where it's at, everything. So I think it's a smart idea, and I think you're correct on that. Hiring new AD, I think is a trial run. I think also I think they didn't want to just throw the new AD into hiring a new head coach his first year.
Yeah, I mean, if your hope is that Neil Brown, well, he had success before in West Virginia, so your hope is he can change things and get it going next year. And as the AD, it takes a little pressure off of you having to make that right away. So your point. All right, so that's coaching changes. Let's talk about some transfers. I'm not going to go through the 1 million transfers that happened just last week, but we'll talk about some of the prominent ones here. Cade McNamara, the quarterback from Michigan, who was obviously the backup to J.J. McCarthy this year and was the starter last year. He has put his name into the transfer portal. Rumors are he's looking at Iowa. That would probably be very helpful for Iowa. He can actually throw a forward pass, so they can actually hopefully not ruin him, and they can do some good things offensively with him. He's a good, decent quarterback. I look at him as like an Ian Book type. He could do a lot of good things, but nothing great. But he'll win you some ball games, and that's the, if you're looking for a winner, they can just be a game manager. I think Cade McNamara could do that for Michigan. L.J. Johnson, the running back from Texas A&M, has announced he's going to transfer. He played in 6 games this season off the bench. He wasn't able to run it a lot. He ran it like 10 times for like 50 yards, I think, this year. When he came out, in 2021, I think he was number 53rd prospect, so he has some talent, and so he's just looking for a new start. I think some of the schools there, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and Michigan, are looking at him. Quarterback Luke Altmaier from Ole Miss. He's a talented quarterback, but he's backing up Jackson Dart, so I don't think he's going to get a chance. So he decided to put his name in the transfer portal. No real saying where he might go yet. Trey Sanders, the former 5-star running back out of Alabama, never had a chance there. I think his career totals were 500 yards with 3 touchdowns. So he might get an opportunity somewhere else. Maybe like Georgia Tech, Michigan, somewhere like that. You have Dominic Lovett, the wide receiver out of Missouri. He's one of the top wide receivers in the SEC. I think he was listed third best wide receiver. So I'm guessing he's going to end up like in Alabama or somewhere like that needs a wide receiver. He probably wants to have a more prominent role on a prominent team. Then you have Grant DuBose, a wide receiver from Charlotte. He's actually, I think, he's a 6'3", big wide receiver, and I think he's kind of listed as one of the top, if not the top, wide receiver in the transfer portal. So a lot of teams will be looking at him at the Power 5 level. Theo Weiss, the wide receiver from Oklahoma. He's, again, the former 5-star who finished this last year with 3 catches for 123 yards and a touchdown in Saturday's defeat on Texas Tech. He recorded 19 catches and 378 yards for the year. So he has some talent, I think. So I'm guessing he'll probably end up somewhere like a USC or a Texas. Damian George, there's a lot of people from Alabama. Offensive lineman from Alabama, didn't get a lot of playing time. He's 6'6", 333 pounds. I'm sure he'll find somewhere to go. Malik Hornsby, quarterback of Arkansas, he should find somewhere to go. Dante Fortin, the wide receiver at Oregon, he was a 5-star or high 4-star in 2021, so he only played 1 year there. So he might be following his coach to Arizona State, or he may end up at USC as well. A lot of USC chatter out there, as you would expect. Davis Brin, quarterback of Tulsa. You kind of look at him as a plug-and-play type quarterback that can fit into a lot of different systems. Who knows where he'll end up. Levi Bell, defensive tackle at Texas State. He's one of the top defensive tackles in the portal. And then Truman Jones, a defensive tackle for Harvard, 6'4", again, really talented. I think Notre Dame is looking at him. So there's a lot of potential there. And that's just a couple. There's a lot more out there. Hudson Card, I think, the quarterback from Texas, put his name out there. Notre Dame is in the running for him. So there's a lot of probably about I could spend a whole next hour just talking about the transfer portal. But anybody stand out to you, Jordan, that I mentioned or that I did not mention?
No, I think the players you mentioned are going to find a home. Cade McNamara is going to find a home. Probably stay in the Big Ten. I think, like you said, Iowa. That's what I heard a lot. Is he'll be a good fit for Iowa. All those names and there's multiple names that are going to probably come out here soon just because the backups are going to be better than next year. I heard DJ. Just to name a couple. DJ out. You could see him coming out and being on the transfer portal, but there'll be more. In the next couple days. Still, I mean, I feel like I keep getting notifications for six a day at least. Sometimes 3 an hour. It's crazy right now where we're at in the transfer portal, but the names you picked off, I think, are going to find a home easily. Stay in the same conference, not lead the conference, but there's a lot of openings right now and a lot of teams, and I think it's okay time to enter that transfer portal this year.
No, for sure. So keep an eye on that. I'm sure we'll have more to talk about next week with those. One coach I did not mention is David Shaw leaving Stanford. That's going to be an interesting job to see who picks that up because that's a very tough place to win, especially with their standards and not allowing transfers. There's probably harder to get into school, so that's going to be interesting to see who they end up picking up there. All right, let's talk about the rankings that just came out last night. So go for the top 10 here. Georgia number 1, obviously. Michigan number 2, TCU 3, USC 4, Ohio State 5, Alabama 6, Tennessee 7, Penn State 8, Clemson 9, Kansas State all the way up to number 10, Utah 11. So those are the most prominent teams there. I don't think there's any surprises there. Any surprises for you, Jordan?
I think I would flip-flop Alabama and Tennessee. I just don't see how they put Tennessee behind Alabama when Alabama beat them. But other than that, no surprises. I did want to say something about a bowl game. I know I've been hearing that the Rose Bowl might take Penn State over Ohio State this year.
Heard Ohio State doesn't want to go to the Rose Bowl, and they're kind of asking them not to pick them.
And Ohio State will go to the Orange Bowl, and I guess it triggers a clause that'll let the ReLaQuest Bowl get top pick of Notre Dame to face a SEC school.
I just see that too. Would it be like Mississippi State or I heard Mississippi State, South Carolina, LSU are all the different options. I would love to see Notre Dame LSU in a bowl game. It's a meaningless bowl game against Brian Kelly. That would be awesome. Probably won't happen though, but it'd be nice. Depends how bad LSU gets beat on Saturday. All right. So that's rankings. We'll go for the rest list here. Washington 12, Florida State 13, LSU 14, Oregon State all the way up to 15. That's pretty good for them. Oregon 16, UCLA 17, Tulane 18, South Carolina 19, Texas 20, Notre Dame 21, UCF 22, North Carolina 23, Mississippi State 24, and North Carolina State 25 to round out the list here. I looking at this, I don't have any major issues. I mean, South Carolina, Texas, Notre Dame are right there. They could probably flip-flop any of those with all 4 losses. I don't have a problem either one there. I have no problem, obviously, Oregon State being above Oregon. They beat them head-to-head. LSU is probably in a fine place at 14. I like seeing Florida State all the way up to 13. They had a pretty good season. No issues for me. What about you for the rest of that top 25?
No issues. I think they're correct on that, and I think there's not a lot you can really change, right? Like we're at that point where one loss is going to knock you down a couple, but you're not going to be pushed back into it. Really, I mean, we got some teams that are pushed into it, but right now it's kind of you're set where you are, and that's where you're going to stay. And so, not a lot of changing, not a lot of questioning about it for me.
Sounds good. All right, so that's the top 25. Let's talk about this week. Championship week is here, so there's some good matchups and then some like, not the greatest, but we'll go through them and give you our thoughts on who's going to win these games. Okay, let's start off first with North Texas versus UTSA. And this is going to be the Conference USA Championship game. Should be an interesting matchup. This will be a rematch of the October filler that they had when UTSA hosted North Texas. I think when these teams played, the Roadrunners escaped with a 31-27 victory after their quarterback, Frank Harris, found Dorian Clark, their wide receiver, for the go-ahead touchdown with just 15 seconds left. So looking to see if this is going to be another exciting, high-flying game here. When you look at who's going to win, it's kind of a toss-up for me. I think right now, I think if I'm not mistaken, UTSA is favored by 8.5 points. Obviously, this game was close last time. I'm going to go ahead, but I'm going to go with North Texas, I think, just because on a feeling, on a hunch. No great analysis there for me, but I think North Texas will get this victory this time. What do you say, Jordan?
This game is so hard to choose. The record does not really dictate who's the better team because UTSA is 10-2 and North Texas is 7-5. I got to go with UTSA. I think they have a little better of offense, a little better defense, and I think it's going to be as close as it was when they played before. I just think UTSA is going to pull this one out once again and win their conference.
All right, sounds good. Let's move on to the next game, the Pac-12 championship. We had number 12 Utah playing USC. Last time these teams played, I think Utah got the 1-point victory. Cam Rising, pulled it off. I think they were in Utah though. Where is this game at? Is it in Las Vegas?
Yeah, it's Las Vegas.
Okay, so obviously no huge home field advantage, but it's right in the middle of both teams, so you can expect it to be pretty ruckus, at least from a Utah and USC perspective. This should be a good game. I think USC is just on another level right now as far as their offense goes. I don't see a way they lose this game. It's going to be like a revenge game for them. They win this game, they're in the playoff. There's a lot of motivation for them there. So I'll go ahead and say USC gets to win by a couple touchdowns. What do you say?
So I am not with you on this. I mean, I want to pick USC, but I just think Utah, we already saw them beat them once, and we've seen what USC...
Hard to beat a team twice.
Oh, Utah did it last year against Oregon. So, I mean, it's not... Utah's, has done it already once. And we already see USC's defense or offense against a good defense. Yeah, I know Utah doesn't have the best, but they are always, they're one of the better teams that they're going to face offensively and defensively. And I think that's what's really going to keep this game close. And I think Utah's going to pull it away again with like a touchdown or a late touchdown or a late field goal to pull away.
All right. It's going to be a good one, I think. But I do think USC will win, but that would be interesting to see. Because USC loses, that opens up a door for someone else to get the number 4 spot. Okay, the other game, Kansas State is at number 3 TCU. Do you remember where this game was being played? I forget where they played their championship.
Arlington, Texas. Dallas Cowboys Stadium.
Okay. Should be another good one. Should we have a good crowd? This last game was really good between these two teams. It should be a nice offensive firepower. As I mentioned before, it's hard to beat a team twice, so I'm a little worried about TCU in this game going up against Kansas State. Kansas State has been playing outstanding. I actually think I'm going to pick Kansas State in this game to pull off the upset and get the victory over TCU. What do you say?
Not at all. I think TCU is going to blow this team out. I think TCU is wanting the college football playoff more than any team in the college football playoff race right now. And they want to show once again, because they showed already last week with their 62-14 win against Iowa State. They already showed once. They just need to show it again. They want to make the committee know their name and want the national media to know who they are. And I think they're just going to come out and pound Kansas State.
Okay. I will disagree on those couple of games, but let's see about this one. Central Florida is playing Tulane in the American Athletic Conference Championship game. These teams just recently played, or am I crazy?
They played November 12th.
Or tough. I know they just recently did. Okay. I just think Tulane has a kind of a hot hand here, so I'm going to ride with Tulane to get this victory over Central Florida. Even though Central Florida has been playing pretty well, I'll go ahead and just take Tulane in this one. What do you say?
I'm with you on this. I'm going to pick Tulane as well. We already talked about, you already say multiple times it's hard to beat a team twice. And I don't think UCF's going to be able to. And like you said, Tulane's going to have the hot hand. And, they're going to be good. And it's at Tulane. I don't think they play at a venue.
Yeah, they don't play at a venue there.
It's at Tulane.
That helps them.
So
I will say also, speaking of transfers, the quarterback for Tulane, Michael Pratt, is one of the highly coveted people that would potentially go in the transfer portal. He, what I'm reading is he's like number one on many teams' list. So I'm interested to watch this game because I really haven't paid much attention to him this year. I mean, I know that Tulane had a good quarterback, but just kind of watching some of the highlights, he seems to be pretty good at running and passing. So I'm interested to see how he does in this game and then what happens to him after that game. All right, we'll talk to the SEC championship. We have LSU at Georgia. I don't think this game is going to be close. I think Georgia is just going to pound LSU into submission and win by a couple touchdowns. Do you agree, Jordan?
Oh, I 100% agree. I think Georgia's the best, still the best team in college football. They have a better quarterback than LSU. They have a better defense than LSU. And they have Brock Bowers, who's, the second best tight end in college football. So, yeah, that's why I said second. I just don't. I just don't think LSU has the firepower we've seen. They've really come a long way. They've grown every week, but they don't have the offensive stars, offensive prowess that could compete with Georgia right now and hold them on defense and hold them on offense, or hold them both sides of the ball. So give me Georgia. I think it's going to be about like 3 or 4 touchdowns. I think Georgia's going to destroy. I think Georgia hears the talks about everybody saying that they don't look that good this year, and I think they're gonna show everybody that they're good this year.
I agree. I think this is when they flip that switch and start playing like we kind of expect them to, because they kind of play up and down in the competition. They're going to be up for the rest of this competition the rest of the year, so I expect them to do well here. If they don't, then that might be an issue for them in the playoff for sure. A game I don't care muffin about, I guess I would say, is Clemson at North Carolina, because both teams have 2 losses. I guess Clemson can still – I don't think they have a chance to make the playoff because Alabama and Ohio State's in front of them. So really they're just playing for ACC championship pride here. Both teams are coming off a loss. Both haven't looked that great. I'm just going to go ahead and go with North Carolina. Just because they have the better offense. Worse defense, better offense. I'll just pick the offense on this side and go to North Carolina. What do you say?
Same. I got North Carolina. I think Drake May is going to light it up. It's probably one of the best games of his season, and he's just going to finish the season off really strong before the bowl game, but finish the, basically the regular season game before bowl season off strong, and then carry that into next year and to his Heisman campaign. I'm calling it here right now, everybody. Drake May for Heisman next year.
Sounds good. Hopefully he'll be at Notre Dame doing that. All right. The Big Ten Championship, Purdue and Michigan. I think this game is going to be better than most people think. Michigan's coming off another emotional win over Ohio State. And this time, instead of playing Iowa, they're playing a team with a pulse in Purdue. This is my alma mater as well. This want to remind the listening folks at home. I'm going to go ahead and pick the upset here. I'm picking Purdue over Michigan. I think they're going to come out there firing, and it's going to be a slobber knocker that Purdue wins. What do you say, Jordan?
I'm with you on the Purdue upset. I don't know why. I just feel it. Purdue has already beat 2 ranked opponents this year. They're going to want to make it a third. And I just think, honestly, Purdue has a better passing offense than Michigan. And I think if you can stop Blake Corum from having 200 rushing yards, I mean, you won this game. Last week, J.J. McCarthy kind of had a really, really good game, and Blake Corum didn't play a lot. But Ohio State's defensive game plan was really rough and really just there was a lot, like just watching that first half of that game, there was a lot of open plays, open passes, for J.J. McCarthy to throw. And so I think Purdue's going to, has the time to, they watch that film, they see that they just need to cover that. And I think unless Blake Corum's 100%, which no one really knows what's happening, what his injury really is or what's going on with him. So, but I'm going to get Purdue on this one. I just think it's going to be close. I think they're both really good teams, and I just think Purdue is going to be able to pull this one out.
All right. So we've both picked a couple different upsets here, so it makes it interesting here. So I know you picked USC and Michigan losing. I picked TCU and Michigan losing. With that being said, let's talk about the Final Four. If those go to like we think they're going to go, who do you have in your Final Four if those results take place?
My Final Four. The set I think at those results, I think if USC doesn't win, Ohio State will get back in. If Michigan doesn't win, I think they'll still be in. I think it'll be Ohio State 4, Michigan 3, TCU 2, Georgia 1. If I was me still, if TCU, you can talk about how we've won TCU if TCU loses this game, but I think it'll be 2 Big Ten schools in if what I think is going to happen happens.
All right, so if what I think is going to happen happens, Georgia obviously will stay number 1. And I have Michigan and TCU losing, so I think that would make USC number 2. It would probably put Michigan, number 3, because I don't think they would fall out either, and then that would Ohio State number 4. Which would be interesting first round matchup: Michigan, USC, Ohio State, Georgia. I'd be there for that. I feel bad for TCU, but sorry, that's what I think would happen.
But what I've been hearing is that even if TCU loses this game, they're going to still be in.
They're going to find a way to get a big name program in there, just like they did last time this happened. TCU was undefeated or whatever, and Ohio State jumped them by winning their championship game.
I was listening, hearing the radio stuff, and a lot of people do not like that the championship game counts.
Yep.
Because it's not really fair for USC if they lose this game to be knocked out, but Ohio State doesn't have to do anything and get put in.
I mean, they should look at it as a 13th data point. If you should look at the first 12 data points, the 13th one should be just a cherry on top, or you don't add it. You should look at the regular season, see which team's best.
It should be if it's close between 2 schools and who you're gonna think. If one wins their championship game and one doesn't win it or doesn't play in it, then that adds. But this right here, I mean, it's not really fair. They're both the same loss, but then now you're going to go to the Pac-12 championship game for USC and they lose to Utah, and now they're 2 losses, and it's why would Ohio State jump them when their 2 losses are their 1 loss during the regular season?
Yep, sure. All right, so that's the preview for this next week. And be interested to see what kind of happens. It could just all stay in the form and nothing changes in the rankings. But I know Ohio State's going to be watching and going to be a big fan of Kansas State and Utah this weekend for sure. Some late breaking news that just popped in here. Former Nebraska interim coach this year, Mickey Joseph, was just arrested on domestic disturbance. I guess he's being arrested for suspicion of strangulation and 3rd-degree domestic assault. So, not a good look for him. He was the head coach pretty much ever since Scott Frost was fired earlier this year. So, interesting. I saw some people clamor for him to be the head coach, so it's probably good that they decided to go in a different direction at this point. I don't know all the facts, obviously, of this case. He's got to hope it wasn't true or it wasn't as bad as it sounds, but something to keep an eye on as we get more news on that item. All right, so that's it for this week. Again, we're looking forward to a great week of championship games. Then we'll get into the Billion Bowl games. I think next week we'll talk about the championship games, and then we'll dive into a little bit of bowl preview, showcase some of our favorite bowl matchups that we have. So if there's anything you want us to dive deeper into, feel free to chat us on Twitter at InTheFlatPod or on our website, InTheFlatPodcast.com. But until next time, guys, we appreciate you joining us, and stay tuned for our sponsor. All right, guys, I want to take a time out here from our discussion to talk to you about our first sponsor, BetterHelp. When we were considering a sponsor for the first time, I thought it was important to help to find one that is doing good for the world that could help our audience at the same time. The reason I thought BetterHelp was the ideal choice is due to the stigma around mental health and talking about it, not only in sports, but for our younger generation out there and our men for all ages across the world. As many people know, men do not like to talk about their feelings, and so I thought it'd be a good subject to bring up here on the podcast. I thought back to the story of Harry Miller, the former Ohio State lineman, who earlier this year outlined his struggle with depression, suicidal thoughts, and how he's had to work through those struggles to improve his mental health. How he struggled and didn't have an outlet. So I know there's a lot of similar situations going on out there. I've had them. I'm sure many of you've had them as well. That's where I think BetterHelp can come in, help with those feelings, and support you in your time of need.
So here at In the Flat, we want to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. And if you didn't know much about BetterHelp, help it's the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues.
To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you just talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, via text, chat, phone, video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you.
And if a therapist isn't right for you for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you can get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom picked for you. There's more scheduling flexibility and at a more affordable price. If this sounds like a solution you need, we are working with BetterHelp to offer you, our listeners, 10% off the first month of therapy when you sign up using our URL, betterhelp.com//in the flat. You could also see that here on our screen. Again, that's betterhelp.com/in the flat. So check it out today and send us your success stories we can highlight on air or in social media. Thank you, guys.